We're going to have the quarterly crime briefing first, and then we'll take some on-topic crime questions about the numbers for the quarter. Then we will reset the room. We will take questions on July 4th and some off topics. All right, so again, it's going to be the crime briefing and questions on the numbers for the quarter and other questions you have for maybe the first 6 months on crime. And then we'll reset and we'll take July 4th and we'll take some off topics. All right, so without further ado, I'll kick it over to the Mayor, Eric Adams.
Thanks so much, Deputy Commissioner Shepard, and really thank all of you for being here. I say it over and over again, the prerequisite to prosperity is public safety and justice. This city must be safe. It is something that not only that I have personally dedicated my life to, but the men and women who are here have dedicated their lives to doing so. To have a former chief of department, to be the deputy mayor of public safety, the first time that's happened, and to have a commissioner that has spent over 30-something years dedicated to keeping the city safe, and having his dad, who was also a member of the police department. So there is on this panel a lot of history on running towards danger so that New Yorkers won't have to experience danger. That is in our blood, and that is what we're going to continue to do. And so I'm really pleased at what Commissioner Caban and his entire team, Chief Madry, Chief of Department, Chief of Patrol, John Schell, Deputy Commissioner Daughtry, how all day, all night, I communicate with them, and they have one mission, and that is to go after the bad guys so they don't do bad things to good people in this city. And we put in place many initiatives, and those initiatives are working. Over thousands of protests that we're witnessing in the city, particularly after October 7th. You're seeing the presence of dangerous people who have arrived in our city, a small proportion of those who are part of the migrants and asylum seekers that have arrived here. Some of them are participating in gang behavior. It's not a representation of the large number of migrants and asylum seekers who are here to pursue the next step on their dream to be in America. But we do have a small number. And I want to really thank First Deputy Commissioner Kinsella and Deputy Commissioner Weiner, who traveled to Colombia to do an investigation on the presence of a group, a dangerous small element of gang behavior that we will not allow to take foothold in our city, and they continue to investigate and look into this. And so we want to thank the men and women of the New York City Police Department. They have been really addressing the issue of violence and disorder in our city, and we cannot thank them enough. I say it over and over again, heroes don't wear capes, they wear blue uniforms, and they are continuously providing the service that we expect with the level of professionalism that we want. We're moving towards our Day of Independence tomorrow. We're excited about the 4th of July. That's going to be the next phase of this conversation. But we want to thank DSNY and NYPD. We're going to continue to ensure that people are able to celebrate our independence in a level of safety. And Commissioner Weiner would tell you that out of this point, there are no credible threats to our city, but she and her team will remain vigilant to make sure we are prepared, and we're going to ensure that we have thousands of officers deployed for tomorrow's night's celebration, including uniform and plainclothes officers as well, to make sure that it is a great celebration. And fireworks may be fun, but you could have fatalities. Last year, over 9,700 injuries and 8 deaths nationally from fireworks misuse or malfunction. So we want people to use them according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and to please keep them out of the hands of children because they could be extremely dangerous. And like I said, we are focused to make sure that this is a great celebration and that the entire city will be able to enjoy the 4th of July. 6 straight months, crime has decreased. This administration has inherited a 40% increase in crime. When we took office, we saw everything from shootings to illegal mopeds, dirt bikes, ghost cars. We have had a full frontal assault on disorder. And when you have 6 straight months of a decrease in crime, it says that the initiatives that we have put in place, they're working. And we know that, if it bleeds, it leads, that, some of the cases that take place will be on our front pages. But in reality, New York City is the safest big city in America. Safest big city in America. And then when you look at our transit, January we had a bump. Commissioner Caban reached out to me and stated that we need to have zero focus on our subway system. Chief Kemper kicked into gear. Deputy Mayor Banks stated that we need to deploy the right personnel. We put 1,000 officers in the system. After the January bump, you saw February, March, April, May, and June a decrease in our subway crimes. A real operation, 1,000 new cops in the system, a partnership to deal with those with severe mental health illnesses and going after those habitual repeaters, and focusing on something that was ignored for 8 years, those who refused to pay their fare. And it became just so routine that we said that we're not going to allow it to happen in our system, because taxpayers should not have to pick up the cost of those who have money and refuse to pay. And that led to the 6 straight months that we are seeing. Homicides are down for the year to date, as well as the quarter of this month. Grand larceny that we were having a problem with in the beginning of the year. Commissioner Daughtry and Chief Shell started putting in real initiative to go after that, and now we have a double-digit decrease in grand larceny. Shootings are down, burglaries are down, and transit crime, as I indicated, are down. And I cannot say that enough, because that's the lifeblood of our city, that transit crime is down. Transit crime, if you take out, I believe 2019, and Chief Kemper, you can correct me, when we were in the heart of the pandemic, you remove that year when no one was on the system, transit crime is down for more than 14 years. We have not seen the level of decrease in transit crime. If you remove that 1 year, if you don't, then it's the second most low level of crime, and that's how well Chief Kemper and his teams are doing. We introduced technologies, cameras, data-driven officers deployment with Chief LaPetrie, who's really our quarterback on knowing where we should be and what we should do, and that is giving us what we have produced. 6 straight months of decreasing crime. We're entering the summer months. It is extremely, and it has always been, as long as we can remember, that summer months is a challenging period. Many people are outdoors. We have a lot of entertainment outdoors, but we did it last year. We're going to do it this year. We gave a lot of alternatives to our children, from Summer Rising to DYCD, summer youth employment programs, to midnight basketball that we're doing. We're going to do everything possible to keep our young people in safe places, but at the same time, the NYPD is going to be there. Job well done, Commissioner, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of all of our executive team here and the entire New York City Police Department, thank you for being here, and welcome to One Police Plaza for our second quarter crime briefing. Like the Mayor said, we talk about the first half of 2024. The men and women of the NYPD continue the critical work that has made New York the safest big city in America. Major felony crime is down in 4 of 7 categories year to date, including reductions in murder, burglary, grand larceny, and auto theft. This work led to a 2% drop in overall major crime for the first 6 months of this year compared to last. And crime is down across all of our operational bureaus, in our patrol precincts, housing developments, and in our transit system. Furthermore, both shooting incidents and victims continue their citywide declines in 2024, extending the downward trend we've seen over these last 2.5 years. From day one, Mayor's administration made it very clear that our top priority is combating gun violence, and the work our officers are doing in every New York City neighborhood is making a real difference. We asked them to go out there and get the guns, and that's exactly what they're doing. Since 2022, the NYPD has taken more than 17,000 illegal firearms off our streets, including more than 3,400 guns seized in just the past 6 months alone. And I can tell you these weapons will never again threaten innocent New Yorkers. We also work closely with our law enforcement partners to make sure that violent criminals who carry them are brought to justice. The results we see don't happen overnight, and they're by no accident. It's the hard work, dedicated thousands of officers that are out there across dozens of department-wide units that brought us to today. And as we head into the summer months, we're going to be working even harder. Our summer violence deployment plan, which we rolled down early May, puts uniformed officers in the neighborhoods that need them the most. And I can tell you, thank you very much, Mike. Last year we had great success in this program in 2023 when we saw lower crime, fewer shootings across our deployment zones. This summer, we expect to repeat that success. We expect to build upon it, keep driving down crime disorder citywide. Another example of significant, sustained progress is what's happening right now in our subway system. In the first half of this year, major crime in the transit system is down almost 7%. It was down almost 15% for the month of June. And as we sit here today, major subway crime is 11% below our pre-pandemic levels. This is a clear case of the NYPD identifying an issue, creating a plan to address it, and executing the plan effectively. New Yorkers demand and deserve a safe transit system, and that's exactly what the NYPD is going to give them. One other aspect I want to mention before we get deeper into Mike's numbers is the work of our Housing Bureau. There are nearly 500,000 residents, employees, and visitors across 2,100 NYCHA buildings citywide. And keeping those people safe is a full-time job of our 9 police service areas, working in close collaboration with resident patrols, community groups, and development managers. We're talking about over 154,000 families, and 50% of NYCHA residents are either seniors or children. So this work is incredibly important. And the men and women of our Housing Bureau don't get enough credit for the great job they do. And thank you, Martia Matarazzo. In the first half of this year, major crime in housing is down almost 3% compared to 2023. It's down 8% for the month of June. So I can tell you this is movement in the right direction. And with the leadership team we have in place, we're confident it will continue that way. There's no doubt that the NYPD's work makes our city a better place to live, work, and visit. Every gun we take, every violent criminal we arrest, every case we close, it's all for one purpose, and that's to keep our community safe. That's our job. That's our mission. And together with the people we serve, that's exactly what we're going to do. Now I'll turn it over to Chief Mike LaPrecci to provide some further details. Chief?
Thank you. Good afternoon. So the police commissioner talked about the historic gun arrests in New York City. And if you look at the quarter, we're trending at the same 3-year average that we have over the past 3 years with over 1,000 gun arrests for the quarter. You got to go back 29 years to have similar gun arrest numbers. 29 years, there was 4 times the amount of shootings in New York City. So we're taking the same amount of, basically the same amount of arrests for guns than we were 29 years ago with 4 times less the shootings. That's precision policing. You know, that's putting the officers in the areas where we see, unfortunately, the most violent. We've identified about 10 square miles of New York City that accounts for 25% of the shootings between an 8-hour and a 10-hour block. That's where the thousands of officers are being placed this summer. That's where they've been placed since May. Last year's success with the summer plan, we rolled it out, we continue to roll it out for the spring, the winter, the holiday season, right up until the summer season. 32 precincts, 72 zones, 7 housing, PSAs are involved with the men and women out there every single night to protect New Yorkers. We talk about the reduction in violence, shootings. You just go back 2 years. So for the first 6 months of 2022, we're down 195 shootings 237 less victims. Compare quarter two this year to quarter two of 2021, down 50% in shootings from this quarter to the quarter in 2021. That's 226 less incidents, 271 less victims. We talked about the reduction in victims in 4 out of the 7 major crimes. There are some upticks in 3 others. I'll explain them. We have an uptick in felony assaults. What's driving those felony assaults, unfortunately, are elderly assaults, well, I should say 65 and older, stranger assaults, and domestic violence victims. I think an example of who's committing an elderly stranger assault is a perfect way for me to describe what happened to a retired 65-year-old member of the service a few weeks back in Midtown Manhattan, viciously assaulted by an individual who, not surprisingly, is a convicted firearm felon out on probation. When you look at an uptick in robberies, we see shoplifting. Violent shoplifting robberies have increased. We have individuals that continue to drive our retail theft, though we have an overall decrease in retail theft with over 14,000 retail theft arrests this year. I have to talk about this index driver, Maximo Marino. He has 36 felony arrests. 36 felony arrests. Not sealed. 36 felony arrests in 2 years. So I'm going to batch them basically 20 in 2023, 20 in 24. Tens of thousands of dollars he has stolen, merchandise worth tens of thousands of dollars from Sephora and from Lululemon. So that individual gets arrested approximately 20 times last year for felonies. He spends a few months in Rikers. He pleads to 2 grand larceny felonies. He goes in front of the judge for his sentencing, and the judge says, okay, you could come back in 6 days, and then we'll sentence you. Well, guess what? He didn't come back in 6 days. He warranted, and he was out up until November. And guess what he did between he warrants and November? We, the NYPD, identify him in 21 more felony grand larceny retail thefts. That's what we identified him. He probably did 100. He goes back to Rikers for a few more months. Before he gets out of Rikers, the Detective Bureau arrests him for those 21 crimes. He gets put in front of 3 different judges in 3 different boroughs. Guess what? He gets non-monetary release from each one of those judges, and guess what? He's walking around the streets of New York City right now, again, committing shoplifting crimes, and he has 6 bench warrants. That's what's wrong with the system. No accountability, no consequences, and a revolving door of justice when it comes to recidivism and retail theft. I do want to touch the increase in rapes. Obviously a very sensitive topic. Falls into 3 categories. We see an increase in our domestic-related rapes. We see an increase in acquaintance rapes, and we see a small increase in stranger rapes. We've also seen over the past quarter, we do have more victims coming forward in the past with crimes that happened months ago, and we encourage that. And we have vast ways that somebody can report a rape in New York City. They can report it as a law enforcement referral to other agencies. They can write in a complaint. They could walk into any precinct, and that's what we encourage. Working with our advocates, our special victims, highly skilled, which Joe's going to talk about, an arrest being made on horrific crime in Central Park. So we encourage that. 7 major arrests, again, 26-year high. Gun arrests, 29-year high. Arresting the individuals that commit crimes in New York City. Thank you very much. Joe?
Good afternoon. I'm just going to update you on a sexual assault that took place in Central Park 9 days ago. On Monday, June 24th, at approximately 1:36 in the afternoon, a female, 21 years old, was the victim of a sexual assault, which was an attempted rape. This took place inside of Central Park in the vicinity of West 104th Street and the West Drive. This area is a secluded section of the park. The survivor was there to sunbathe. At this time, the perpetrator approaches our survivor and exposes himself. She gets up and tries to run from the location, but she is knocked to the ground by her attacker. Once on the ground, the male is on top of her and attempted to forcibly rape her. She fought back, and she fought back hard. The survivor began to physically struggle with the perpetrator while screaming for help. It is believed that her actions caused the attacker to climb off of her and run away. Patrol officers from Central Park Precinct responded to several 911 calls of reporting that a female was being attacked. Once at the scene, officers provided a description of the attacker as being a male black, 6'1", wearing a T-shirt, black shorts, and wearing a baseball cap. Numerous officers and detectives from multiple units responded to the scene to assist in this investigation. They included uniformed officers from Central Park Precinct and Patrol Borough Manhattan North, ESU K-9, Bloodhounds, Central Park Precinct Detective Squad, Manhattan North Homicide Squad, all members from Manhattan North Detectives, Manhattan North Video Collection Team, the Manhattan Special Victims Unit, the Special Victims Major Case Team, and of course the Crime Scene Unit. Detectives immediately fanned out to interview potential witnesses, and luckily, one witness came forward and was able to provide responding detectives a possible direction of flight, pointing out where the perpetrator may have exited the park. Detectives were able to conduct a video canvass to follow this person to West 104th Street, where they were able to pull video from a commercial establishment that gave us a clear image of the perpetrator's face. This image was submitted to our facial recognition system, which produced a match. It is important to note that any facial identification match is not considered enough evidence to establish probable cause for an arrest. This is merely a clue. This FIS hit was a match to Jermaine Longmire. He is a male black, 43 years old. His date of birth is 1/17/1981. He resides a short distance from where this crime took place, 60 West 104th Street. He has 8 prior arrests in New York City, and he has an substantial arrest history out of state in Florida, Maryland, and New Jersey. A computer analysis of Longmire revealed that he was wanted on an open bench warrant in New York City. The crime he warranted on? A forcible touching arrest from March of 2024, where Longmire approached a woman from behind and forcibly grabbed her buttocks. Further computer work revealed that he was also a perpetrator involved in a 2-incident forcible touching pattern that took place in the transit system in 2023. Once again, where Longmire would run up behind unsuspecting women and forcibly grab their intimate parts. Armed with this information, members of the Fugitive Enforcement Unit located and apprehended Longmire for this open bench warrant on June 26th. At the same time, members of the Special Victims Unit were working to establish probable cause to arrest Longmire on one of the incidents that was included in that transit forcible touching pattern. He was arrested on one of those incidents and held in jail on $7,500 cash bail. As I stated earlier, the Crime Scene Unit responded to this incident and collected numerous items of evidence. Among the items collected were the survivor's clothing, in particular her bikini bottom. This article of clothing was processed by our forensic identification section at the lab for potential touch DNA. Once the examination was complete, Jermaine Longmire's DNA was discovered on the survivor's bikini bottom. Working with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, all of this evidence was presented to a grand jury who indicted Jermaine Longmire for attempted rape and sexual abuse in the first degree. He was produced today in court, where Special Victims placed him under arrest, and he was charged for this new crime. He is charged with attempted rape in the first degree and sex abuse in the first degree. I'd like to take this time to thank District Attorney Alvin Bragg and his staff for their assistance in this case. And I would also like to thank the men and women of the Detective Bureau who worked so hard to bring this case to a successful conclusion. In particular, Lieutenant Vic Barabella and the Manhattan Special Victims Unit, the Special Victims Major Case Team, and the NYPD Lab. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Joe. All right, so we'll start with on-topic questions on the crime numbers before we reset and we'll stop in July 4th, right? So on-topic on the numbers.
Morning, Stefano. Who's there?
Yeah, but Chief, going over the increase in the rape statistics for the quarter and the 6 months and June, you've seen increases, and you've seen increases in people who are coming forward with old reports of arrests. Given that 2 months ago we had the Harvey Weinstein decision, reversal of his rape conviction, and there was some criticism that because of that we were going to see a reluctance of victims to come forward. You're not seeing that, are you?
We are not seeing that. We are not seeing that at all.
We go to Robert Press, Bronx Chronicle. Yes, as the secretary for the 49th Precinct Council, I'd like to invite you and the commissioner over to our National Night Out on August 6th. However, and I want you to see how hard our officers work, all 74 of them down from a high of 250. And as you said, all crime stats are down. Here's the latest 49th Precinct crime stats, which show for a 2-year period, crime is up 34.89%, and not one category is down. Okay? You have 9,000 units of new housing coming in through a Metro North rezoning and other new housing, including 200-bed homeless men's shelter. Crime is not, pardon me, former Commissioner Shea, when I asked him, said that these crime figures do not accurately report total crime because much crime goes unreported. And let me just finish one more thing, and my last thing will be, you also have 50 people who are currently incarcerated in Rikers Island that will be given apartments in an empty building on a Jacoby campus, free to go wherever they want, and HHC says these people, they said they were stage 4 cancer, but now they admit that these people will be have as little as diabetes. What do you have to say to that? Yeah.
First of all, I thank you for using your downtime to be a citizen that participates in the precinct council, because that's what we need. We need everyone to be actively involved, and that's how we go about crime. And making our city safe, I know people often look at just the police, but I think when you look at Chief LaPetrie's analysis of those cases where you see a criminal justice system that has a revolving door, that gets in the way of us going after those crime stats that you're talking about. And so the advocacy that you're showing right now for the NYPD, I want that advocacy with the lawmakers that are making these rules. I want the advocacy for the judges that are letting them go free. I want that advocacy to be shown when we see laws being passed that impedes us from making our city safe. It's not just the NYPD. We are doing our job. You heard that arrests are up. We're apprehending bad guys. You're seeing bad guys that are repeatedly being arrested and turned back into the street. That makes our jobs very difficult. So I need you to help me, and I'm coming up to the precinct council to hang out with you, with the treasurer, because you have the pocket full of money, because you're the treasurer. And I want you to join me when I go to the city councils, to Albany, to the federal government. Let's be a partner to bring down crime, okay?
Mike, you want to speak
Yeah, I
on
can just
49
I'll touch a little bit about the 49th precinct. You know, they have seen an uptick in crime, no doubt about it. You know, the 2-year uptick is more than an uptick. It's a 35% increase. But again, a 75% increase in 7 major arrests in that 2-year period. Over a 300% increase in oath-related summonses. Hazardous summonses, a 66% increase in hazardous summonses in the 49th precinct in that 2-year period. And one thing that we did see was areas that did concern us. And that's why the 49th precinct this year became a summer zone. We've identified areas in the 49 where we moved those additional officers. We did not have that in the 49th precinct last year. And that's why we wanted to expand it. And the 49th was one of the expansion commands, and they do have a zone.
And, sir, just so you know, and I know you're aware that we just had a leadership change there. We brought back our old face, old squad commander, Captain Tiatong. We already see the difference already for the week, 28 days. He's pushing crime down. He was the squad commander there. He knows the place well. He's collaborating with the PSA over there. He's going to make a big difference over there.
Arthur?
What are the numbers? How are we looking? Wait, hold on, because I want to address that. How are we looking at manpower? Can we have a conversation about manpower?
So with the graduating class, you know, obviously speaking to Chief Madry, we are going to be moving hundreds of officers into the Bronx and then distribute them to the precincts.
And I wanted to, when we finish, I want the information about that location. They told you the people who were going there were due to cancer patients. We should not do a bait and switch. So I want you to give me the information of that location. You say it was 40 people? 50 people?
Kobe Hospital, it's the Trust Home Project.
Got it. Okay, so let's see who's actually going there to that location, all right? But I thank you for being on the precinct council. A lot of people don't volunteer, and I appreciate you doing that.
Okay, Arthur, yeah.
I have a question about the East 14th Street corridor in the East Village. From First Avenue to Avenue A, residents have been saying they've got a really big problem there, from the marketplace to some different types of illegal behavior. I have two questions. One for Chief LaPetri. Is that when you identify blocks that are, or sections of the city that are troublesome, is that block in that category that you described? And then for the mayor, the question is, what's the plan? Because currently it's not working, whatever the plan has been.
Yeah, no, and the plan is working. I have been there several times. I walked that block from the water all the way down to up and down Lexington Avenue. I have called the platoon commander and the precinct commander to meet me at the location because it was a mess. And we cannot be in a city where we walk past disorder. And when you look at 14th Street and you see the number of vendors, you see the number of drug uses, it is unacceptable. Our city is not going to live that way, and I have told the precinct commander several times that this is not acceptable. You should not be walking down your block seeing what we saw on 14th Street. There's been several initiatives there, and Chief Madry, you can go into some of the things that we're doing there to constantly repeat. Now, we have those who believe that vendors should be allowed to line the streets and do what they want, and they are decision makers in government. We're constantly fighting against that, like we did on Roosevelt Island Avenue in Queens. We need 14th Street to be fixed and not just a Band-Aid on it, and I've been very clear on all of my visits there that it was unacceptable what we saw. One visit I did there was this big mound of plastic bags just to find out that someone was sleeping under it. Not acceptable. Precinct patrol officers must patrol their sectors, and they must make sure conditions are corrected, not ignored. What are we doing over there?
So we just redeployed a 24/7 uniformed cops to that one street, 14th A to Avenue 1. The 14 store owners, we're getting them together. We're doing crime prevention surveys for all those 14 stores. The one problematic smoke shop on that block, we shut it down last week with the help of the sheriff. We got the local councilwoman involved. She was with the CO yesterday walking that street. If you know 14th Street, it's the border between the 13th precinct and the 9th precinct. So there's no borders here. Both precincts are responsible for that one block. I was out there last year with the peddlers on the street by the train station. We cleared it up. So we revamped our whole plan for that area. We look at the 301s over there. There's one person who's called over 2,000 times for rollerblading and skateboarding. We spoke to him. Please stop jacking up 301 numbers. Homeless encampment. Homeless is an issue over there. We've done numerous operations. So we've been doing a lot of work over there, but we have to do more. And we just revised the Manhattan South Borough Commanders here. We just revised our whole plan for that one strip for the community.
I just want to add one more thing into there. Also, is that I just received a shipment of cameras in where we're going to be redeploying them onto the 14th Street corridor, which would give the ability for the precinct desk officer to monitor them real time inside the precinct, and also we're going to give the ability to the precinct NCOs and the neighborhood coordination officers to be able to monitor on their smartphones. So in the event that an encampment or vendors do pop back up, they can see it and go address it without being called.
Yeah, it's a real problem. 14th Street is, and you know, I've been over there several times. It's a real problem, and we're going to fix it. And it hasn't been a problem just 1 year, 2 years. It has been a problem and has been ignored. And we just don't accept disorder being ignored. It doesn't matter if it's an encampment, someone sleeping on the side of the highway, just total disorder that we witnessed when we came into this administration. And it's not acceptable, and I'm not happy with what I see on 14th Street. I spoke with the council person over there. I walked with the leaders here. We can't allow streets to look like that. And we mentioned Chief McCarthy, Manhattan South. We cannot thank him enough. Chief McCarthy has been handling thousands of protests in this city, particularly after October 7th, and dealing with the public safety aspect of it. And we want to thank him for the job that he's been doing, and it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job on what he's been experiencing.
And Bryce, I want to add, Chief McCarthy, crime in Manhattan South is down, leads it down 12% for the year. So he's doing a tremendous job.
Arthur, if I can add also, just over the past week, the feedback that we've gotten from the residents of Stuytown and the business owners on 14th Street, very positive, all right, and they're very happy with us, and our plan's working, and we're just going to have to stick with it.
All right, so before we go forward, do we have any more questions on the actual crime numbers? So remember, we're going to get to the off topics, and we're going to get to July 4th. Crime numbers? Okay.
What is the breakdown in terms of how many against the elderly, how many against domestic?
Sure. I have most of it. If not, I can give you, everything that you're looking for. So as far as increases of victims in certain categories of rape, we're up 25 victims of domestic violence rapes for the quarter. We're up 33 victims of acquaintance rape victims, and we're up 16 victims of stranger rapes. And that's for the quarter.
Just to show the importance of the sexual assaults, the police commissioners, we've upstaffed the special victims unit tremendously. We're constantly recruiting. We're getting new talent in. We're at staffing levels that we haven't seen in years, which is going to bring the caseload down, which is going to result to more arrests. So we're really taking it seriously. Special victims has had a complete turnaround.
All right, any more on actual crime? Yeah.
Hey guys, how you doing? I had a question about the hate crimes. Are those mostly stemming from the demonstrations, or any more? Can you explain a little bit more about the nature of those crimes, who's doing them, the victims, and where that's originating from?
So hate crimes in general, right now, we're showing an increase of 34%. That comes out to plus 87 crimes total. So 344 versus 257. All right, so it's plus 34%. Jewish hate crime is 206 of those 334. That amounts to 78% of all reported hate crime, and really is the cause of the total increase overall. As far as protests, we're seeing hate crime some at protests, but the majority of them are separately reported incidents, which we're encouraging people to report. Same as sexual offenses. See something, say something. Whereas in previous years, the majority of the hate crimes, in particular against the Jewish community, were types of crimes that were harassment, graffiti, criminal mischief, swastika driven. We've seen a change since October 7th, where it's been an increase of assault threes, where people are actually laying hands on other people. Yes, correct.
34 was the number?
We're up 34%.
All right, again, thanks, everybody. I'm going to ask the Mayor, PC, DM Banks first step so we can reset the room. They'll exit, and then we'll get to July 4th and some off topics.
Please stay in place.
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, so obviously we got July 4th again, one of the crown jewels of the world, really, the fireworks that happens in New York City. So, Chief Madry will talk just briefly, as we do every year, about how we're going to keep July 4th safe, and then we'll take a couple of July 4th security questions, and then we'll open it up to off topics where the day is here. We'll be able to answer a few questions off topic. All right, so Chief Madry.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Just really quick, I'd like to welcome to the dais Will Cox from Macy's and Rob Atterbury from Hudson River Park Trust. Thank you for your partnership for this incredible event that'll be happening tomorrow. Our 48th annual Macy's 4th of July fireworks display, first one which was held in 1976. Of course, it's happening tomorrow, July 4th, Thursday, starting at approximately 9:25 p.m. and it'll last about 25 minutes. Approximately 60 pieces, shells and effects will be launched from the barges that'll be positioned from, the barges will be positioned on West 14th Street to West 34th Street along Hudson River. And this is the first time since 2013 that the fireworks will be displayed from the Hudson. We have entry points for our guests who are going to come and sit along the West Side Highway, and that'll be at Christopher Street and Washington Street, which is ADA accessible. You have West 11th in Washington, West 12th in Washington, West 29th and 11th Avenue, and West 40th Street and 11th Avenue, which is ADA accessible. So the nation's largest Independence Day celebration, which is happening tomorrow night, the NYPD will be there to make sure that it's safe and enjoyable for everyone. So we hope to see you all out there on the west side with your families. This 48th annual Macy's 4th of July fireworks display is something that we always take seriously, and it's something that we prepare for July 5th, right after the firework display occurs. So we've been preparing since July 5th of 2023. No police department anywhere has the experience in handling these large-scale events as the NYPD does. We have people who design and execute these plans, and they're the best in the world. So similar to prior years, you can expect increased security. We'll have all our assets out there. We'll make sure that our viewing areas are safe. You will see some of the assets, like uniformed members in the street. You'll see our K-9 deployment, some of our counterterrorism deployment. You'll see members at our entry points doing soft screenings, making sure people are not bringing in anything that's unauthorized. And of course, there'll be security measures that you won't see. But rest assured, the men and women of the NYPD will be out there, and we fully anticipate another safe and successful celebration. So at this time, I will urge everyone to use public transportation. It is the best way to get there, and we will be prepared to receive you on the west side so you can enjoy the fireworks. At this time, I'll turn it over to Chief Shell, who'll talk about some more of the deployments that we'll be using out there tomorrow night.
Thanks, Chief. Good afternoon, everybody. So just, you know, the night starts with a great fireworks show and drone show, but Like I said, it starts for us. You got to remember we have other events going on throughout the city, from Coney Island, Nathan's to all our beaches open, to barbecues, and just a lot of fun for 8.5 million New Yorkers. So it becomes a long night for us. Right after the fireworks show, we will redeploy a lot of our police officers and assets to different parts of the city where last year we saw a high volume of fireworks calls and/or shots fired calls and people being shot. So our night begins pretty much after the fireworks end about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and we'll be deployed till the early morning hours of July 5th. I'm not going to give you numbers of cops who are going to out there, but it'll be substantial, right, more than we've ever had. And again, some of these cops will be redeployed from, working hard to keep everyone safe on the West Side Highway, and they're redeployed to other parts of the city to work throughout the night with the other cops that we will have working. So we want everyone to come out and have a great time. Please don't handle any fireworks. Let the professionals handle that. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the backyard parties. Enjoy your family, your friends. We'll be out there in full force to make everybody as safe as possible. And it's going to be a nice day. Who's there? Any weather people here? It's supposed to be a nice night tomorrow night. All right, so I'm told. And we're looking forward to a great 24 hours.
All right, thanks, Chief Manager. Thanks, Chief Shell. July 4th first, July 4th only, and then we'll get moved to off topics. July 4th security. Okay.
Mentioned encouragement to take public transit. Can you talk a little bit about the transportation plan, beefing up resources, particularly kind of along the west side as people enter and egress, and what sort of safety will be put into place there?
Absolutely. In terms of the west side, we'll have additional traffic agents out there. We'll have additional members of the service out there, regular uniform patrol, as well as our special operations assets. And then, of course, the trains. We'll have additional patrols out there. Chief Kemper, you could elaborate a little bit about the transit patrol that'll be working tomorrow evening?
Yeah, so we encourage everyone to use public transportation, certainly the New York City subway system, which is going to be open for business, increased service. And listen, we have a large amount of cops working every day, but they're going to be supplemented on the direction of the chief of department with even more personnel in the subway system, certainly, heavily focused on that west side, but throughout the entire city. So our riders are going to see an increased uniform presence, and like I always say also, there's going to be a plainclothes element to our deployment also.
And also we have Chief of Transportation, Chief Rivera.
Good afternoon. All street closures in place for July 4th will commence at 1500 hours. We'll post those exact locations out a little later.
So once we get them from Chief of Transportation, DPI will send them out to all the members of the media. July 4th? Mark?
Hey there. I had a question about demonstrations and patrols that were going to be, have you guys heard of anything, any planned demonstrations or any plans in place in case there's a bunch of waiver demonstrators?
Yeah, Mark, Deputy Commissioner Weiner can take that.
Good afternoon. Yes, there will be some demonstrations planned around Washington Square Park as well as Union Square. So we have plans well underway for that.
And we have extra field forces strictly assigned to those protests just in case they get big. And when they terminate or not that big, those cops will redeploy into the 4th of July plan and the night afterwards, in the morning afterwards.
I think that you will see some numbers. I think it will be hundreds, not thousands, if that. So, yes, but this is obviously something we've been doing every day for many years, but certainly in the last 8 months.
We've been dealing with this since October with the big Christmas tree lighting, New Year's Eve, you name it, we've done it, we're ready. 3,200 protests, we're ready to go.
All right, Lauren?
2 questions. Does the Hudson fireworks display, does that offer different policing challenges compared to the East River? And yesterday we aired a report in which there was some threat, not a credible threat, but the FBI is considering a threat from drones over dropping potential bombs over crowds. We're not saying it's going to happen, but maybe the commissioner can speak to that. Is that something that all of the officers are now trained to look for as well?
The report in question is called the Joint Special Events Threat Assessment, which comes out annually. And so this report didn't mention a specific threat involving weaponized drones, but discussed this as a potential threat vector generally, which is precisely why, as a department, we've invested considerably in developing expertise that we use in coordination with federal partners around counter-drone, mitigating the dangers of a potential drone which is being used for nefarious purposes. So this is technology we have, it's skills we have. Of course, we have our own drones, which we use for our own public safety mission, but counter-drone is an increasingly important specialization to have as a law enforcement agency.
All right, Chief Shell, West Side versus East Side.
Yeah, I'll answer that. Just in
All right.
terms of the East Side versus the West Side, I mean, policing is never easy. We always have challenges. But if you look at the East Side, we're talking about two different roadways. You have the FDR, which is elevated, and then also the regular, just a regular street level. So on the West Side, we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with just a straight level road, which of course will be a little easier. We don't have to put officers up top, so we'll be able to put more officers on the street level and, go out the side streets to really make sure we cover the area and keep people safe.
All right, Anthony, you got something on July 4th, Anthony?
Commissioner Weiner said about mitigation efforts with the drones. What does that actually look like? How could you possibly take down another drone that was possibly causing a threat to a crowd? And then for Chief Shell, could you go over the locations, the hot spots of some of the fireworks and shots fired calls that you guys are going to be patrolling more?
So drone mitigation technology is used pretty widely whenever there's a major special event. We use it for the U.S. Open. We use it for New Year's Eve, any major event where there's a potential for a drone to be used for nefarious purposes. We have technological capability to mitigate threat. And again, we do this in coordination with federal partners who have authorization to mitigate drone. And there's different techniques that you can use to do it. But it is not at all a new capability or new technology. It's pretty standard operating package for.
It wouldn't be shooting it down.
Pardon?
It wouldn't be shooting.
It's not like in the movies where you shoot it out of the sky. No, it is safe for mass gatherings. That's the whole point, and it's quite technologically advanced.
All right, Chief, on the
Yeah,
location.
just for the overall play, each precinct is going to stand alone in terms of what's unique to that precinct from a historical point of view, from 3-in-1s and information I have. For our special staffing, we're going to be heavy in the Bronx, heavy in northern part of Brooklyn. We added 13 additional zones, if you will, to 4th of July for us to police. We'll be looking at parks early on in the night, especially in the northern part of Manhattan. So it's multi-layered. We know the locations that we want to concentrate on based on last year, like I said, the Bronx, parts of Brooklyn, Manhattan North, and then each precinct has their own individual precinct plan unique to their community.
All right, so last one on July 4th, Aaron.
With apologies to Will, because I'm sure this show is going to be awesome, but Commissioner Weiner, can you, the joint threat assessment mentioned a lot of different things to be concerned. What generally concerns you? Why this substantial police presence that's going to be larger than ever before? What's the point? What's in your head? What's bugging you?
Well, to be fair, this joint threat assessment was produced by FBI and DHS. And again, it's an annual document. And the idea is to give the public or to give the audience an understanding of the range of possibilities that underline protection around major special events. The world is a complicated place at this moment. And, we have a robust police presence every year around July 4th. This isn't different than years past. We obviously take our duty to protect the event very seriously. This year it spans a wide space of geography. And again, we've been dealing with a complicated threat environment that we've spent a lot of time talking about for the last 8 months. You have a vibrant terrorism threat overseas. You have a lot of polarization here. You just heard about an increase in hate crimes. So it's entirely appropriate then whenever there's a large-scale event like this one, we think about all potential hypotheticals and we plan accordingly. But again, this isn't new. We do this every year. We want to make the 4th of July safe and happy for all, and that's exactly what we're doing this year.
All right, let's move into our off topics, and we'll start with Jen.
I just want to go back to the sex assaults and like the public perception. I know crime is a little down. There are some sex assault rates and crimes that are up. But just wanted to know what's being done specifically for these crimes for New Yorkers and protect New Yorkers. Last month, I believe it was Casino Park, where a young girl was raped, and then last week it was a woman was sunbathing. So maybe just at parks, outdoors, what's being done, especially summer is here now. Anything specifically that New Yorkers can count on you guys for?
Sure. So as far as, I guess I'll start with the parks. So obviously, we identify parks that we see increases in 311 calls, increases in 911 calls, and also crime complaints. So just for instance, for July 4th, we identified 19 parks across the city of New York that we feel should have additional police officers patrol those offices, and they will be, and each precinct commander is responsible for a park plan every year, which is written into his or her crime strategy plan. Obviously, park crime is part of a constant topic that we look at, and the overall rapes. Joe described it best. An increase in special victims investigators, right? Very, very skilled. They're experts in what they do. The advocates, working with the advocates, and just like anything, field deployment, right? You're talking about 20,000 patrol officers that are out there every day, answering the radio, but also patrolling the areas that we do see upticks in street-level crimes, including, all crimes.
All right, Tom.
Hi, I just have a quick question regarding the homicide in the 4-6, if there's any updates on that as a possible motive. And I know it's also just been 3 days in, but the How Many Stops Act, how's that going for you guys?
I'll take the 4-6. So yesterday at 4:28 p.m., we have a car accident in front of 226 West Tremont Avenue. It involves two cars. The drivers are not known to each other. They get out of the car and they begin to dispute over who caused the accident. As they do that, a crowd gathers and they seem to take side with the drivers. So the crowd gathers. They start to get involved in the dispute between the two drivers. At one point, our perpetrator, who is a male black wearing dark pants and red sandals, he begins to argue with the driver. The crowd turns on him and starts to throw items, striking him in the head. He then in turn turns around and stabs somebody in the crowd. As of right now, we have some good video from a dash cam that we have is providing us a good image, and our investigation is still continuing. If anybody has any information, they can just call 1-800-577-TIPS. We'd appreciate it.
All right, so turning to the How Many Stops Act, as you said, we're literally at day 3. So, we've obviously put a lot of time and effort into making sure we were ready for this. Policies, training, the technological side. It is a major change for the department. It's going to affect the day-to-day work of police officers. And obviously that sort of making that seep into the culture of the department, the day-to-day nature of that, it definitely takes time, of course. But we're going to follow the law. We're committed to following the law. But in terms of how it's going so far, I mean, it's day 3. It's really just too soon to say.
And Tom, it's not a stop; it's an inquiry. Big difference. It should be called the How Many Inquiry Acts, not the How Many Stops Act.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, I guess for the legal counsel, the commissioner put out a statement yesterday about the CCRB and activities vis-a-vis the department, and the commissioner indicated that there's a problem with cases going beyond the statute of limitations with the CCRB. Is that causing an issue with the disciplinary process at your end?
So a few points on that. Obviously, if a case comes to us after the statute of limitations has passed, that's one type of problem, of course. What we do see sometimes, and this is a real challenge, is that a case will come to us from the CCRB right before the statute of limitations is about to run. So you have a very limited amount of time to look at what CCRB has concluded, for us to do our own assessment of the evidence, the case, and that does present particular challenges, right? These are incredibly serious matters. Every single case, right, matters to everyone involved, to the complainant, to the respondent, and you never want to be rushed with these things, right? Nobody should want that. And if we do find ourselves in a situation where a case comes to us, and yes, it's before the statute of limitations has run, but we're talking about just weeks or even days, that presents a tremendous rush and time pressure, which really serves no one's interest. Certainly does not serve the interest of justice. Is that something we have seen with CCRB? Yes, sometimes.
So you have to then possibly, because of rush and short time frame, simply not proceed.
So obviously, that is not an outcome that anyone wants, right? That, again, that does not serve the interest of justice. Has that happened historically? Yes. There have been times when a case came on such short notice that we simply were not in a position to process it in a fair and timely fashion. I don't have the data in terms of how often that's happened more recently. Has it happened historically? Yes, there have been times when that has occurred.
Take a quick pause and let our guests from Macy's and Hudson River just step out and proceed with their business of the day. And we thank them for coming in and being here for us. And Tony, the other thing why they're leaving out is you did see the opinion that the PC had posted yesterday. We also sent it out to everybody, just going into a little detail about some of the stuff with discipline and some of the inaccuracies and some of the stuff we saw recently. All right, Kelly, Mena?
For tomorrow, it's in place now and it's in effect. On a day like tomorrow, how does that affect policing and public safety? Does it slow it down since you have so many officers out and it's just starting? I mean, how does that look? Will it affect policing tomorrow?
Right. So obviously there was a lot of back and forth over the How Many Stops Act, a tremendous debate over that. I'm not looking to rehash that here. It is the law and we're going to follow it. That said, by definition, it imposes additional burdens on the department, on our officers. Filling out these forms takes time, by definition. And it's too soon to say exactly how that's going to play out. But if you think about it, that means necessarily there is going to be either an increase in response times or an increase in overtime or both. Now, in terms of how much of one, how much of the other, the magnitude, it is definitely too soon to say. But necessarily there has to be some effect, right? Your officers on a daily basis are filling out these forms. They take time, and that time has to go somewhere. So it's either affecting response times or overtime or both. But in terms of that balance and the magnitude, it's too soon to say.
Yep, and can I just add into there 1 sec, Mike? I spoke to a couple of officers yesterday and asked them how it was going, and they told me that it just takes too long. They're trying to get information down from the person that they are making an inquiry about, and they're taking it in their pad. They're writing. They're guessing if what their ethnicity is, what their age is, what their gender is. It just said the process just takes too long. And that it is enhancing, affecting their ability to respond to priority jobs and progress.
All right, Mike. And before we move past you, Mike, can you just address quickly? I came up in the mayor's off topics yesterday. Can you just address the difference between when the PC has the absolute right to take over a case versus the difference between when he disagrees with a CCRB recommendation and he puts that in writing back to the CCRB?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're really just two different things entirely. So one is what we call a P2. P2 is paragraph 2. And that's pursuant to a MOU. I think it's 2012 MOU that we have with the CCRB. And that MOU has to do with their ability, they're bringing charges and specifications, actually prosecuting that, right? The CCRB prosecutes cases. in NYPD administrative courts. But pursuant to that agreement, which is publicly available, in paragraph 2, there are certain circumstances, a narrow set of circumstances, in which, pursuant to the MOU, the police commissioner is allowed to essentially take the case from the CCRB to be addressed in our own disciplinary procedures. In many of those cases, and we talk about that in the statement, in many of those cases, we take it and then impose discipline. Now, that can happen, and this is just, I'm actually just going to read from the MOU for a second. That happens, it's limited to cases in which either there are parallel or related criminal investigations, or when, if you have an officer with no disciplinary history or prior substantiated CCRB complaints, based on such officer's record and disciplinary history, the interests of justice would not be served. So that's, again, public agreement between us and the CCRB, and that's what's called a P2 case. And that's taking the case into sort of the PD disciplinary system and away from the CCRB. Now, separately, you can have situations in which a case is adjudicated in our system, and the police commissioner might disagree with the CCRB's recommendation regarding the appropriate discipline to be imposed, or the police commissioner might be, for whatever reason, deviating from the matrix. So in those situations, we're talking now about the penalty piece of this, the disciplinary piece of this, that is contrary to CCRB's recommendation or outside the range in the matrix. In those situations, the PC he has the authority to exercise his discretion and impose the appropriate punishment. In both situations, the P2 situations and what we call deviation cases, right, it's in writing and it's transparent. The police commissioner writes a letter to the CCRB explaining why he's doing what he's doing. The CCRB responds. That's all in writing. It is publicly available. So I do want to emphasize, again, this is consistent with the law, consistent with the MOU, and it is transparent.
Anthony?
I want to go back to the sex assault from last week. Kaz had talked about putting more cameras on trails where there weren't as many lights. You said you were going to go back there the day after. Did you guys get a chance to do that in Central Park, Casino Park? If so, how many more cameras can people expect to be put up?
So to answer your question with Casino Park, that's done already. We have put a lot of cameras up there. I'm not going to give you the number, Anthony, as much as I know you want the number, but we put some cameras there that you will see and there's some cameras that you will not see. As far as Central Park, we met with the Central Park Conservancy. We did a survey with our Tyro team. We're working in conjunction with them because we wanted their input of exactly where they think that the cameras will be best useful for the individuals that do attend the park with. And we are scheduled for after July, after the holiday weekend, to go back there and start the installation of the cameras. And those cameras are going to stay. They're not temporary cameras. They're going to stay in Central Park. It's a lot.
All right, so.
I just want to ask about the commissioner, going back to the commissioner of CCRB. In his statement, he mentioned that he has a more volume of cases. I was wondering if you could say how many cases he's had to deal with versus maybe how many saw.
Yeah, so I don't have that data here with me, but I think we can probably get you some additional information.
And then we can get you the numbers, but it's a lot more. And you got to remember that the commissioner also cleared up hundreds of cases of backlog that was left him from the previous two police commissioners. Hundreds of cases that they were backlogged upstairs, and I believe we are down to somewhere between 20 to only 30 cases that are in backlog now, as opposed to hundreds when he stepped in. So a lot of what you see, again, you can submit these questions to DCPI, but a lot of what you're seeing and what people are telling somebody is just completely inaccurate. You know, the commission's been very transparent. There's an MOU that people can look up, and all of these numbers are available. So I don't know why there's so much confusion around discipline, but there's a lot of statements that are being made that's just totally false. I saw one yesterday about termination, and people were terminated over which was completely false. There was 0 officers terminated over that issue, and you know, so there's a lot of statements and things that you read that are just completely false. All right, so I don't see anybody else. With that, we'll conclude. Thank you, everybody, for coming in.